Hi, my name is Vaughan Rivet, also known as Social Biz Guy, and today I'm at the CIO Summit here in New Zealand for 2015, and I have the privilege of speaking with this wonderful gentleman here, and his name's Jonathan Feldman. Have I got that right?
I think you have that right.
Very close.
It's also nice chatting with you.
Excellent, thanks so much. So, Jonathan, you're the CIO for the City of Asheville.
Yes.
And I guess it must be quite a significant role. Enough to keep you busy, that's for sure.
It sure keeps us busy.
And I guess one of the other things which is of particular interest and will be for a lot of my viewers will be around the fact that you're on the list of the top 100 CIOs who are probably the most social on the planet at the moment. And that's an accolade given to you by Huffington Post.
I think so. I think so. I think that's Val Afshar.
Excellent,
Yeah.
Excellent. That's right. So I guess what I'd like to understand a little bit is particularly more so about how you engage with your customers, the citizens
Yes.
in the city where you are,
Yes.
and the things that you're doing to really be able to effectively service them and their demands as they change.
Right. So part of what I'm going to outline in my talk today is that to do IT transformation, you have to love the business you're in. You must have deep mission focus, because how can you create profound change if you hate the business you're in, right? So every day I go to work excited that I'm going to keep people safer in conjunction with the fire department. We're going to make justice better with our work with the police department. We're going to help the water department provide clean water for folks. It's something I can look at my kids and they can say, Dad does something meaningful, right? I think at the same time, you can't be limited by the norms of your business, right? And I think one of the things that I believe has contributed towards Asheville's rise in the world of technology has been that we talk about what happens in a very candid way. You know, we talk about our success, we talk about our failure. One of the things that I'm going to talk about again in my talk today is this notion of reporting, telling what you do. Because I think it's just an incredibly transformative thing to do. So my point by not being limited is I think that a lot of local government IT, I don't want to say that they're insular, but they tend to not view public engagement as their job.
Right.
Right? I mean, I think that's fair to say. And so I'm a little crazy, you know, and so I believe that actually it is our job to tell what we're trying to do, how we're messing up. If you look at our website, it's asheville.nc.gov/ITS, you will see our annual reports for the last couple of years. And we talk about challenges and opportunities. And I think that helps you sort of transcend your own limitations. When you know how you're messing up, and when you're candid about it, I think that creates an atmosphere of greater trust, right?
Yes.
Because there is exactly one word for someone who has no limitations and says they're perfect all the time, and it is liar, right? You know, that's not to say that, you know, if you screw up all the time, there aren't consequences, but I think it is helpful in building a credibility profile when you talk very honestly and candidly about your challenges. So that's how I think being social makes you better.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. And I guess that's one of the trends that I've been seeing with businesses, where typically internally within the business and that communication happening and that transparency needs to flow right from the top down through the business to the people on the actual workshop floor. So
right, absolutely.
And I guess one of the points that you've raised around the likes of reporting, that must be a challenge in itself. And I think, you know, I've just come out of a presentation where they've been talking about how reporting is often followed 6 months after an event.
Right.
So how do you actually get reports out in a timely fashion?
Yes.
So that so people have the material and information. And I guess that's one of the things that's inhibited people from being as transparent in the past.
Right, right. Because if you only report like every 6 months or for crying out loud every year, you don't really have a chance to follow that up and say, yeah, I screwed up last quarter, but this quarter we're doing better.
Yeah.
So I have a business degree. I don't have a public administration degree.
Right.
And so I naturally gravitate towards the quarter as the discrete unit of business reporting. And so at the City of Asheville, we have, it's been 10 years and plus, and so we have 40 quarterly reports that we file with city management every single quarter. We've never missed one.
Right.
We do an internal monthly reckoning as well, where we collect our various data points and various metrics, and we see how we're doing. But I guess I agree wholeheartedly that if you're not doing reporting rhythmically, it makes it very difficult to face up to, gee, one of these reports might not be so sterling, right?
Yeah.
And what do I do? And the answer is, if you report more often, then you have an opportunity to show what the trend is,
Yes.
and not just the data point. Because one data point is never a statistic.
No,
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I guess taking obviously that report and having the transparency encourages people to be part of the conversation and become part of the strategy to actually come up with a solution
Absolutely.
to fix that.
Absolutely.
So,
Yes.
so do you have mechanisms in place with the citizens where they can actually participate in driving, I guess, crowdsource ideas and things around some of your solutions?
I've actually had some, and what's funny, I should say that my account on Twitter that I mostly use is my unofficial account, right? That's a personal account. There's also AVL CIO, which is my official account. But as I have said to our public information officer, right, there is no private persona and public persona when you work in the public. There's only persona.
That's right.
Right?
Yes.
And so when I have people reach out to me on my _J Feldman account and say, hey, the following is wrong, I say, thank you very much for reporting it. We'll get right on it, and then we fix it, right?
Absolutely.
So I've gotten feedback that way. People email me. We've done events, and that's another way that I'm sort of an outlier in the public affairs world.
Right.
Because back in 2011 we did Cloud Computing Day. In 2012 we did Open Data Day, and some of my peers have been so bold as to say, what the hell are you doing? We're in government. Why are you doing these events? And we're in government IT. And my answer is because events make us stronger.
Absolutely.
Events make us better. Events are just another mechanism of opening up, what you're calling those feedback mechanisms, right?
Yes.
And so I take feedback however you, the citizen, are comfortable giving it. And if that's social media, great. I've had someone reach out on LinkedIn. So I think as a public official, the game has changed.
Right.
It's not just about, and I wouldn't presume to speak for our city council, but I think our city council, my observation is that they do the same. They, wherever the feedback comes in, I just think they responsibly handle it, which I think is great.
Right. So you're a runner.
I am.
I've seen that.
Let's go.
Maybe not. So I'm actually a keen cyclist
Nice.
myself. So and one of the things I see when I'm out cycling is a couple of things, right? So I see roads that disappear off the edge, and I'm a road cyclist, so it's not good to go onto the gravel.
Yes, sir.
It usually end up off the bike. I see potholes appear overnight. I see animal carcasses the following morning after an animal's been killed or whatever from a vehicle. Now this app that you have for the city of
Asheville.
Asheville. I see that it's got things in there so I can actually report on what's happening in the areas where I am. And again, another great way to actually get feedback from your customers,
Oh, yes.
your citizens.
Yes, great point.
And also, I guess it also creates some challenges around having the agility to be able to change what you've necessarily planned because an event has come up somewhere in the city that requires some sort of attention outside of what's been planned for.
You know, I think it seems like that from the outside, but in fact, I think it is a welcome sorting mechanism.
Right.
Right? Because if I truly have a date stamp, and this is called the Asheville app, and you can download it from the App Store. I should say that Asheville, North Carolina is one of the most beautiful places on the planet to come bike or run or paddle.
Right.
And so I think you should all come and bike, run, and paddle and go to our restaurants downtown and increase tax base.
There you go.
But I think that reporting those potholes and reporting those graffiti tags, I think it's great because it adds an element of time. You know, when did that person click on that? And it sort of tells you as staff, what should I get to first?
Yes.
Right? Systems are actually, contrary to popular belief, systems can be as liberating as they are constraining, right? And if you have a system that is telling you as a concrete sequential personality, here's what's next, you sort of welcome that, right? Yes. Because you're not playing favorites. You're saying, well, this guy Vaughn, I don't even know if he's a citizen, but he took a picture with his smartphone and hit submit at 3 o'clock, and Jonathan did something at 4 o'clock. Well, I'm going to get to Vaughn first.
Yes.
So I actually think it's liberating in some sense.
Yeah. And this app is so smart that I tried that from Auckland and it just won't allow me.
No, it does have a GPS
It's got some geofencing going on.
Yeah. Well done.
So one of the things you mentioned a little bit earlier was that you go to work, you're pretty excited, you kind of pass by the fire station on the way and a couple of police cars going the other way with the sirens going, all those kind of things. And you look forward to how can I help all of these different components.
Right.
And I guess, you know, there's so many different departments that you're dealing with and trying to provide solutions for. What are you doing internally to try to help with the departments so that they can collaborate better with each other and share information, those sorts of things?
That's a fantastic question. We, like every other organization, are drowning in email, right? And I have an ongoing conversation internally about how can we reduce that volume of email, right? And so part of it is behavioral. If you've not seen emailcharter.org, that has some really nice rules for the road of don't copy everybody, you know, and all that stuff. Forward things instead of CCing.
Yes.
But there's also the notion of use the right tool for the right job.
Right.
And so it's probably obvious that we borrow a lot, or I should say steal, from the startup world.
Yes.
And so we use very startup-y kinds of project management tools like Asana, you know, which all of a sudden you're not sending an email back and forth and you're not having to look through your email, you know, for certain project stuff, right? But more to the point, I think that we would all like our email system to feel a lot more like Facebook.
Yes.
Right? Yes. Where you have, you know, look, I have 3 notifiers. I guess I'll click on that and see if anything's important. And oh, look, something's important. I'll go deal with that.
Yes.
Right. So we're also putting together a custom portal to deal with that, and we hope to be rolling that out at the end of next quarter. Because I think that is a pervasive problem. And the code is all on GitHub. If I believe it's on GitHub, we tend to do development in the open as well.
Right.
We just released an app called Simplicity at simplicity.ashevillec.gov. That is a dramatically different way to look into city information. Right? Instead of taking 15 minutes to find a PDF of trash days and scroll through it and say, which one's my trash day? You just type in your address and it says, boom, Vaughn, you're Thursday for trash.
Right.
Which is great.
Yeah.
But my point in mentioning that is that's definitely on GitHub. And,
right.
And so this intranet tool that we're developing, if it's not on GitHub now, it will be soon.
Right. So your intranet tool, are you going to be bringing social capabilities to that tool? Was that kind of Facebook style that you
Yes,
mentioned?
yes, that's right, that's right. So everyone who works at the city will have an account. And of course, in the public sector, there are considerations like, hey, this is all public record, so remember to drive on the right side of the road. Very apropos, being in New Zealand, talking about that.
Absolutely, absolutely. I hope they gave you a little bit of instruction on the airplane as you landed.
Absolutely. For me, it's about not getting hit by a car by looking to the right versus left, right?
Crossing the road, yeah. I've traveled in other parts of the world,
yes,
I know what it's like.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Okay, so what do you see going forward, I guess, over the next 3 to 5 years, I guess, as the key trends that are going to impact the most on what you're doing in your business?
So from an IT perspective, let me talk about government perspective first, right? Government perspective is things are getting more open, get used to it, right? Open data will continue to rule. We will continue to have growing pains with open data. Open data portals do very, very well with tabular data, that is data that has rows and columns. It's less good with structured data, but there are tools like Record Track and Seamless Docs that do very, very well with tracking open documents versus open data.
Yes.
And I think we're going to see that trending more upwards, because if you're asking for some documents, the odds are that Joe over there will also be asking for those documents. And we want to make that more efficient. We want to make that quicker. So that's on the government IT side. On the IT side, I think we're going to continue to have this relentless push towards digital transformation.
Right.
And when we talk about digital transformation, it's just a fancy way of saying IT has got to help get closer to the customer. We have to help with conversion of the customer. And so I mentioned simplicity. To me, that's a tool to help the customer convert. In government, what I mean by conversion is I want you, the citizen, to get what you want in a way that delights you and in a way that's highly efficient.
Yes.
Right? And so simplicity, if it delights you, when you're able to just type in your address and figure out who owns this street because I want to tell someone there's a problem, or I want to know what the crime is in this region, or where's my recycling day. If that's a delightful experience, check, that's conversion.
Absolutely.
It's also a conversion if it keeps you from getting frustrated, picking up the phone and calling a call center, which is very expensive to run.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
So that's what I mean by conversion. And digital technology helps us do that better. Right? And so when we're talking about things like conversion, that also means things like usability. Usability, and I wrote a column about this for Information Week just the other day. Usability, I am convinced, is, if not the road, it is a primary road towards digital transformation.
Right.
Because if someone can't use what IT puts together, or what marketing puts together, well, it's not going to be very effective, right? And if we're trying to convert customers, we want to get there.
Yes.
And I think the road is through usability.
Right, yeah. And I think that's one of the areas where IT had been really good at in the past, is delivering ugly.
Oh yeah, I heard you say really good, and I was like, wait, where have you been working? Yeah, we've been really good at writing ugly apps, and
ugly is us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very cluttered, and all that.
Absolutely. I guess in many ways functional, but very difficult to use.
Right? But we used to define functional in the wrong way. Functional meant an educated or trained person could do it.
Yes.
And I think the appetite for training at organizations is going down, 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 down. And usability actually helps you avoid training.
Absolutely, yeah. And I guess there's a few things you mentioned today which to me drive that business cost down significantly. Like you're saying, yeah, reducing training, making it easy to use, making it accessible to use,
Right.
those sorts of things. Also things like reducing phone calls into a call centre.
Right.
And I know a lot of call centres here in New Zealand are going through that digital transformation and evolving more into that contact centre,
Right.
where they're now using other channels other than a telephone, using things like social media, all those sorts of things where they're kind of forced into it in a way by their customers. And I think that's a good thing. It's forcing change.
It's a good change.
Think a little bit differently.
Yeah.
Those sorts of things. So yeah, excellent. Well, have you got anything else you'd like to leave with us? Any great inspiring thought of the day?
For me, we are all analog humans in a digital world, right? And so I think there are those people in the technology business who understand that the underlying humanity is the most important thing about the technology business. That's my blog. That's what I blog about at feldman.org.
Yes.
And it's not an easy road. It's a very hard road because everything depends.
Yes.
It's not write code, hit execute, it works.
Yes.
Right? The human side of IT is simultaneously the most difficult, the most transformational, and the most important. So if I leave you with one thought today, it's that we are analog humans in a very digital world, and the need to inject more humanity into it is urgent.
So it's that whole thing around business moving from, I guess, the whole B2C model to what I call, and I think there's a number of others out there as well, the P2P model. We now move to the people-to-people model, making it human, those sorts of things. So,
Amen to that one.
Excellent. Well, you've just been watching Jonathan Feldman. I am saying that right?
That was it.
I had to have training by my wife last night. I was calling you all sorts. You've just been watching us talk a little bit about some of the challenges that are facing IT, and I guess in light of the CIO Summit that we're currently at. And I hope that you've enjoyed this, and I'll put some links and things beneath this video on YouTube to some of the tools that Jonathan has kindly shared with us, and thanks for that. So you can take a look at those and perhaps consider how you could use those to better deliver services to the people that you need to provide services to. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, John.